Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Warren Ziegler Show. Today, reacting to the Trump-Zelensky interview live. Without further ado, let's get straight into it.
In D.C. tonight, I said, would you have allowed that to happen a year ago? He said, no way. No way. He said, what you've done is incredible. And I think the people realize it. But the press says, he's a dictator. He's trying to take over. No, all I want is security for our people. But people that haven't gone out to dinner in Washington, D.C. in 2 years are going out to dinner. And the restaurants the last 2 days were busier than they've been in a long time.
Sir, I walked around yesterday with MTG. If you can walk around with DC with MTG and not be attacked, the city is safe.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last week, you warned of what you called severe consequences if a 30-day ceasefire or any type of ceasefire were not agreed to by Russia. Will there be severe consequences? Does that change because of
I don't think you need a
President
ceasefire. You know, if you look at the 6 deals that I settled this year, they were all at war.
And so this is the difference. I'm going to let Trump speak really quickly, but this is the difference. Trump is no longer doing just a ceasefire. He's doing a complete peace deal, which is that it's on a certain ceasefire which lasts about a year if it can be broken. There are security agreements. This is a long-lasting peace he wishes to accomplish.
But if you look at the 6 deals that we made peace and you know, long-term, long-running wars, I didn't do any ceasefires. I like the concept. You know, I like the concept of a ceasefire for one reason, because you'd stop killing people immediately, as opposed to in 2 weeks or 1 week or whatever it takes. But we can work a deal where we're working on a peace deal while they're fighting. They have to fight. I wish they could stop. I'd like them to stop. But strategically, that could be a disadvantage for one side or the other. But all of these deals I made without even the mention of the words ceasefire.
President Zelensky, can you explain the decision to offer Ukraine Article 5-like security guarantees, but stop short of pushing for their full membership?
Yeah, well, we haven't done anything on that yet. If you look back and you go back long before President Putin, it was always a statement that they would never allow Ukraine into NATO. So that was a statement that was made, but we haven't discussed any of that yet. We're going to be discussing it today, but we will give them very good protection, very good security. That's part of it. And the people that are waiting for us, I think they're very like-minded. They want to.
The thing is, with the security is Americans, especially American troops, going to be in Ukraine? Because if this is true, then we will be safeguarding a foreign country against one of the largest superpowers in the world.
And the killing continues. So President Trump, how much more is the United States willing to give Ukraine? And President Zelensky, how much more do you want?
Well, I'll start off just by saying we're not giving anything now. We're selling weapons. This is something before, I guess the number is well over $300 billion. That was under Joe Biden, a corrupt politician, not a smart man, never was. By the way, go back 40 years, he was not a smart man 40 years ago either, but now he's in particular bad. This was done by a corrupt administration that shouldn't have been in, and frankly, if the right results of the election were given, if I were president, this war would have never taken place, and he would have been very happy, because he would have liked to have seen. I mean, they went through hell. He went through hell. This war would have never happened. And the people that were killed, a couple of million people, a lot of people with soldiers and everything else, and the people that have been displaced and forced into other areas and other countries because of what's happened,
What you see now is that there's now a difference. And the main thing is, and I think Trump's actually going to get some blowback from people who are more right-wing than him, which is that if there's security agreements, like Article 5 quasi-security agreements, this is more in-depth than Biden, right? Because, yes, there was more aid, and yes, there was long-range missiles, but now potentially American troops are going to be stationed in Ukraine. So we're getting more engulfed in Ukraine, but I guess it's for a ceasefire deal or whatever.
I think it's not a part for the war and to defend us. It also will be a part for security guarantees, to strengthen our army, to rearm Ukrainian army. This is very, very important. And it depends how much money we need to rearm. For example, the question of air defense, we spoke about it with President Trump, and I'm happy that we have now bilateral decisions and we work on it with
Yeah, actually,
production
those
of
are quite
American
nice.
products. Nobody in Europe
Is that a
has
suit?
so many
Looks a little
air
different.
defense like Patriots, for example. We need it very much, and this is also about defending.
President Zelensky, can I ask President Zelensky a
I
question?
think the good news, we make the best military equipment in the world by far. You mentioned the Patriots. How good are they?
Systems, air
We have
defense.
systems, they're literally 100% foolproof. And it's really like shooting two bullets, two bullets hitting each other in the air in a space like this. The chance is 100%. It's 99 to 100%. So we sell the equipment to NATO. And NATO does what, I don't know what the arrangement
And so now here's the difference, right? During the prior administration, we would send money to Ukraine via our money. We would send it via the State Department. There would be bills, and Congress would pass it. Now it's really the same thing, but NATO's paying for it, meaning that we're actually getting money. So we're selling some weapons in exchange. NATO pays for it and gives it to Ukraine. But again, the whole disputation wasn't even about the money. Yes, the money was a lot. The money was overblown. Okay. But the whole dispute was, why are we giving aid to Ukraine to continuously fund the war that seems inevitable if we're going to lose it? And so, I mean, this is kind of like a neocon pivot towards more funding for Ukraine, even if we don't personally fund for it.
a real democracy with mail-in ballots. And we, as a Republican Party, are going to do everything possible that we get rid of mail-in ballots. We're going to start with an executive order that's being written right now by the best lawyers in the country to end mail-in ballots because they're corrupt. And you know that we're the only country in the world, I believe, I may be wrong, but just about the only country in the world that uses it because of what's happened, massive fraud all over the place. The other thing we want change are the machines. For all of the money they spend, it's approximately 10 times more expensive than paper ballots. And paper ballots are very sophisticated with the watermark paper and everything else. We would get secure elections. We'd get much faster results. The machines, I mean, they say we're going to have the results in 2 weeks. With paper ballots, you have the results that night. Most people but most people, many countries use paper ballots. It's the most secure form. So between paper ballots, very, very important, paper ballots, and I think maybe even more important, the mail-in voting. We're going to end mail-in voting. It's a fraud. If you have mail-in vote, even Jimmy Carter with this commission, they set it up. He said the one thing about mail-in voting, you will never have an honest election if you have mail-in. And it's time that the Republicans get tough and stop it because the Democrats want it. It's the only way they can get elected. Because with men and women's sports and with transgender for everybody and open borders and all of the horrible things, and now the new thing is they love crime. They're fighting me on the fact that I've made Washington, D.C. safe. We're not going to get mugged, beaten up, or killed like all the people you've been watching get so badly hurt. I'm glad. I hate to take your time with this, but I'm glad you asked me that question.
Sorry.
We're going to stop mail-in ballots because it's corrupt. You know, when you go to a voting booth and you do it the right way and you go to a state that runs it properly, you go in, they even ask me. They asked me for my license plate for identity. I said, I don't know if I have it. They said, sir, you have to have it. I was very impressed, actually. But it's very hard to cheat with mail-in voting. As you know what happens in California, it's so corrupt where some people get 5, 6, 7 ballots delivered to them. Now, we got to stop mail-in voting, and the Republicans have to lead the charge. The Democrats want it because they have horrible policy. If you have mail-in voting, you're not going to have many Democrats get elected. That's bigger than anything having to do with redistricting, believe me. And the Republicans have to get smart. We're not going to have a country. I said for a long time at rallies, you need borders and you need free and fair elections. Those two things. Otherwise, you don't have. We have strong borders now. In 90 days, Mr. President, we didn't have 0 in 3 months. Not one person came in illegally into our.
That is true. The southern border has been nearly completely sealed. But again, the main thing is, well, that's good. The southern border, nobody's coming in. But there's still a lot of people legally here. I think there's, 12 million illegal immigrants living here. And with the current ICE numbers, I mean, maybe by the end of this administration's term, by 2028, we could get maybe 5 million, 6 million. But if we can even get rid, let alone the amount of illegal immigrants that came under Obama, even the ones that came under Trump, and the expedited amount that came under the Biden administration, if we just only get rid of, not even get rid of the illegals living in the Biden administration, then they're still live here. And then in the next admin, probably a Democrat administration, they're all going to get naturalized, or if they're going to be put in DACA. So, I mean, yeah, like that's great. Nobody's coming in here, but we still have a boatload of people that we still need to get out. It's like that's great. We love it, but it needs to be tough.
That NATO-like protection in order to get President Zelensky to a deal today.
Well, I don't know if you define it that way, but NATO-like, I mean, we have people waiting in another room right now. They're all here from Europe, biggest people in Europe, and they want to give protection. They feel very strongly about it, and we'll help them out with that. I think it's very important. I think it's very important to get the deal done.
You've been involved with the peacekeeping in Ukraine since your first day in the administration. What would you say to the Ukrainian people right now who are suffering under the Russian attacks and hoping that the American people will stand with them?
Well, I know Ukrainian people. I've known many over the years. They're great people. They're smart. They're energetic. They love their country. I mean, they love their country, and we want to get this war ended. That's all I can do. I love the Ukrainian people, but I love all people. I love the Russian people. I love them all. I want to get the war stopped. Very important.
Mr. President, was there any aspect of your discussion with Vladimir Putin that left you disappointed?
Look, we just spoke to, I was just telling the president, I just spoke to President Putin indirectly, and we're going to have a phone call right after these meetings today. And we may or may not have a trilat. If we don't have a trilat, then the fighting continues. And if we do, we have a good chance. I think if we have a trilat, there's a good chance of maybe ending it. But he's expecting my call when we're finished with this meeting. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, that's the end of the meeting. I was a little bit late. It was about how long again? About 30 minutes. So decently long. And of course, this is much better than the first one. First one, Zelensky definitely has been taught, maybe by one of the EU diplomats. He's far less aggressive than last time. His English is actually much better, much better. You see, he's much more joyful. Than the last one, he looked like, and I don't blame him, right? I mean, his troops are dying, and it's horrible stuff if you read the stories. He was very much so. He was kind of depressed, angry, and you could see in the first one. The second one, he's joyful. He's like laughing all the time. His English is much better. He's wearing, I don't know if you consider that to be a suit or a quasi suit, but it's better than a t-shirt. And Trump is shockingly much more receptive of him, probably after the fact that now he's not wearing a t-shirt. And bizarrely, J.D. Vance, I see J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, they weren't really speaking at all. Maybe it wasn't before I started my video. But again, the main question is Trump going to impose extra sanctions on Russia? That's the first thing. The second thing is, are we going to get more involved in Ukraine than the former administration? Because this is true. If there is peace, that's great. That's perfect. But if American troops are stationed in Ukraine, like how they're stationed in Iraq right now, or they're stationed in Afghanistan, then, I mean, if Putin were to ever invade again, American troops would be in combat with Russian troops. And so my personal position is maybe we can give Ukraine, again, long-range missiles or whatever, but I am opposed to, even I get it, it's a peace deal, I'm opposed to American troops being in Ukraine wholeheartedly. I think we should be making a pivot to China, not having troops stationed in Ukraine. But then again, maybe I'll be wrong. Trump is the master negotiator. So the art of the deal, all right? So I'll catch you guys later, and thanks for watching. Peace.